My first point is to say that SEPA was a very important project, and it still is a very important project. For those who, in the early 2001, 2002, were looking at the end of 2010 for completion of SEPA, you may say you have been dreaming, but are we forgetting that in the meantime, we had the worst banking crisis for the past 80 years, if not more? I think we should not, how can I say, lose sight of the difficulties around us which came up during this process to SEPA. And if we are able to maintain the dates presented also this morning by Madame Rousseau, 2012, 2013, we are at best 2 years off the mark. And if you take 2008, 2009, were they not anyway lost years for this whole migration? So I thought I take this glass and say, well, it's like SEPA. It's half empty, but it's also half full at this moment. Huh? A lot has been done. I want to talk briefly about what we have established in EBA clearing. We have now set the infrastructure to enable SEPA payments to flow throughout Europe. I give you the figure. In SEPA credit transfers services, we have 124 direct participants, which are the main banks in every country in Europe, but we have a network, including the indirect participant, of 4,500 banks connected to one central routing table. We speak about SEPA direct debits. Slow start, very difficult start. By now, since the November enlargement, we have 95 direct participants, 3,800 indirect participants, which is over 90% of all the banks that have adhered to the rule book. On B2B, this situation is a bit different. It's 69 and 3,200. So. My message on this is the following. First of all, very clearly, banks have said yes to the call, adhere and connect yourself. It is the prerequisite, fully understood, but the answer to this call was yes. They are all there. In terms of volumes, I hear the figures of 1%, 2%, 3%, 30 years to get to 100%, which I think is more for the fun. The reality is that the figures are evolving like a curve and accelerating. And so it will be much earlier that we will reach this 100%. I can only say for us that we have, on the credit transfer side, on average, close to 1 million payments a day, with peaks far over 1 million. And we represent today about a third of SET payments in Europe. But more importantly, we have now since 3-4 months regularly banks calling us saying we are about to make a response to an RFP of a customer, of a big customer. Are you able to channel for us 2 million, 3 million payments in one day? And you know we rely on a very good technology partner, and together we say, yes, we are for that. But my message is, where maybe in a year ago the lake was totally quiet, corporates were not at all coming forward with an appetite, with an interest. This is now happening. Now, these things do not happen in one go overnight. Before a bank entrusts 3.5 million payments of a pension scheme or whatever to a system, it wants to test and try. We are in the business of infrastructures, we are in the business of tectonics. Things move cautiously and slowly. But they move very, very, very distinctly in one direction. So I can only say only the impatient here are pessimistic. Otherwise, a lot is going on which maybe does not yet come out into the light. We are in very close contacts with the community of Finland for their migration of retail payments to our platform. And I think you will possibly hear more this afternoon from Ossi. We are also considering with the Finnish community to introduce a service for them, but available for everybody, for, so to say, real-time processing of SCT payments for them. A lot is going on. You see that Belgium has issued an RFP to migrate its traffic to a SCT platform. We see Luxembourg anyway. Spain has high percentages in terms of volumes already. I so much support what Mr. Sabatini just said on the efforts taken in Italy, the evolution of the volumes. And through the efforts taken, you can also see that this is not an affair of a month or two. These are processes that require their time. And I would also agree with those that have spoken earlier on, or those amongst you who feel that we are not yet there. We are not yet there. The question raised by Massimo is, why are we not there yet? What's the problem? My first answer is, which I have to give very often these days, the difficulties of the whole SEPA migration were bluntly underestimated in 2001, in 2002, and I would also say in 2006. Number one, for one reason, that is at the level of switching users from a domestically deeply rooted scheme, instrument, technology, and so on, is just not a plug-and-play affair. It is combined, it comes along with such important investment that, again, one can only be blue-eyed in being too impatient. The second aspect why it was much more difficult than we thought is to come at the pan-European level, to come to a common agreement on a, so to say, universally agreed scheme for credit transfers for direct debits in particular. To me, this was, for a while, a religious debate. I could only relate it to medieval ages between the Guelphs and the Ghibellini, and these were fundamental clashes of different views, and they have been solved. And if they have been solved at the level of the EPC, I think it goes without saying that any reproche to the EPC that it has not delivered is extremely unfair, It has. What remains really now is the last mile on the road to SEPA turns out to be the most complicated one. It is the last mile where now, in the end, almost, people said, well, could you, regulator, give us now a clean prescription, like a medic and a physicist, and tell us exactly, and tell everybody exactly what is now to be done and so on. And I just have to quote what you said. The Commission has opened a new area of debate with these essential requirements, which I have to say, for those who were, about to jump into the cold water, they say, oh, just a minute, what's happening? And there is at this moment undoubtedly a certain irritation on what will come out of this, and let's put it this way, well-intended approach by the Commission. Simon is smiling. I think it's well-intended. It was trying to do the best. So, still, I think this is the last mile. It will be a more difficult one than previous ones, but it will be completed. And I personally would not advise to lean back and think that the SEPA will be delayed. It would be a very risky bet. So I think these are part of the reasons which are now more from a, how can I say, more from a psychological and a cultural point of view, but it's all part of the pictures, I believe.